All right, good afternoon everyone and welcome to the TasPorts industry briefing for major projects. My name's Stephen Casey, the Chief Operating Officer of TasPorts, and I've got the first part of agenda to give you an overview of TasPorts and our project pipeline. Firstly, I'd like to run the welcome to country and call out, prior to European arrival in 1804, the Lutruwita, Tasmania was home for millennia to the Palawa Aboriginal people. And I'd like to formally begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, sea and waterways on which we meet. So I wish to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community that cares for our country. The other bit of administration I'd like to call out is this session is going to be recorded. It's not a live feed, but a recording to deal with the flexibility we needed with the COVID restrictions and a number of interstate attendees that couldn't travel. So we'll take a recording. We'll distribute that to everyone that RSVP'd to the original invite, so just to be aware of that. I think today's about a pretty exciting story around growth and development for TasPorts. It's been a 3-year journey, I think, to right the ship, sort of pardon the pun, to stabilise the business, deal with a number of legacy issues, and then really have some focus on long-term planning for what TasPorts can contribute to the state of Tasmania. What that's resulted in my view, is a really coherent group of growth opportunities and development options, well-defined project pipeline, which we'll talk through today, clear understanding of the funding and capital options that we have as TasPorts to fund these initiatives, a really cohesive, high-calibre owners team, which you'll meet most of today, and importantly for us, a really strong executive and board sponsorship. So I'll cover a bit of introduction around who is TasPorts, what's our long-term plan look like, and I think really important, what's our project management approach, so how do we want to do business when we deliver projects. We'll then have Pat Burke, who is leading a Keylink project, and Keylink is our East Devonport redevelopment. We'll have Tom Dillon, that's going to talk through our other 2 major growth projects which are underway and on the Infrastructure Australia list. And then Sam's going to cover for Ian Patrick, who couldn't be here today, and talk through the sustaining capital pipeline. So really want to give the whole view of the pipeline as we go, and you'll come to understand in TasPorts we have this sustaining CapEx maintenance program that runs every year, but for the first time we've really got a well-planned, well-published major growth pipeline. So a little bit about what we do. TasPorts is a state-owned company, so we're a corporation in our own right with a board of directors. Our 2 shareholders are the Treasurer and the Minister for Infrastructure. We run 11 ports, an airport, and then a really diverse, vertically integrated business. Everything from marine operations, pilotage, towage and coxswains. We run a shipping line for King Island. We have a really diverse, broad property portfolio, significant land holdings in really strategic locations. We have our projects group. We have a real focus on asset management and some long overdue infrastructure projects around maintaining some of the community ports. So a really, really diverse business, and one that we're very, very proud of. The vision for TasPorts, I think our role is to connect people, products and solutions for the best outcomes for the state of Tasmania. In terms of developing a plan, TasPorts was established in 2006, so that was the amalgamation of a number of local port authorities. We moved, I think, a significant maturity step to move away from local port authorities that were competing with each other for different business and I guess undercutting pricing, failing to raise the revenue and the free cash flow that they could then reinvest in major growth projects. So a whole estate approach was a big step forward in forming TasPorts. 2013 we had the launch of the TasPorts 2043 vision, and that was a piece of strategy work which assessed what's the right port model for the state, and we looked at building 1 megaport, 1 north, 1 south, in the multiple port environment which we're on today. And obviously the outcome there was the recommendation around maintaining the multiple port environment, so with the 4 key commercial ports that we run. Also Port Ladder as a port that we monitor and manage the waterways, and then the various community assets which as a TasPorts as a business we want to generate that free cash flow so we can put it back into some of those community assets which are really important for the regional areas of Tasmania. 2018 was the release of the Port Master Plan, and the public release, I guess by design, was fairly high level, and it was really about setting a bit of a direction. What's the purpose of the primarily the 4 major ports, so Burnie, Devonport, Bell Bay and Hobart. And port master planning is very much a directional process. We set a direction without necessarily defining the exact investments and the exact projects, but we've got an idea of what that port's going to do and what the customers and communities are going to serve. And then we go through the process of building out each different project option and what the project pipeline looks like. And pretty much brings us to where we are today. In 2021, we've had two major projects approved through Gate 1 of the Infrastructure Australia process, so that being the redevelopment of MAC 456 here in Hobart, and then a project which we call the Burnie Export Gateway, which is a multi-commodity export facility building upon the options around berths 6, 7 and potentially a new berth 8 in Burnie, giving big exporters the best access to deeper water and bigger ships to make their supply chains more efficient. The other project, which is a big focus today, is Project Keylink. It's a name for a project which hasn't necessarily been launched through a communication process yet, but Keylink is our redevelopment of East Devonport. Really significant project for TasPorts. Probably four years planning going into this. Most of you will be familiar with the Devonport port, where we have Sea Road and TT Line as two of the three biggest, or the three big important Bass Strait operators, container, freight and passengers. Really aged infrastructure there, really important customers, and the opportunity for TasPorts to build contemporary, state-of-the-art 2 terminals there in East Devonport for those important customers is a really exciting project for us. That's gone through an approval process as a wholly funded TasPorts project through our board in September last year, through a number of sort of stakeholder engagement, consultation and approval processes with Treasury and State Growth, approved by our Minister just before the election was announced, became an election promise during the election process, and then as soon as Cabinet was formed, the whole business case was approved. So that gives us the certainty to proceed. It gives us some certainty around what the commercial framework that sits underneath it for the 2 customers that work out of Devonport. So really exciting times, and we'll talk at some length about Keylink today. Project management approach. It's great to have all the work around planning and building a project pipeline, but we really do need a model that can make sure we're the best at delivering projects, and we absolutely have a goal to be the best project delivery organisation in Tasmania and the best port company in Australia for delivering infrastructure projects. The model that we've built around how we deliver projects, again, built out over the last 3 or 4 years. A lot of I'd say global multi-industry input and benchmarking, and I think as a port company in Tasmania, it was really important that we could learn from multiple sectors. So how do big infrastructure owners that run operations deliver projects successfully, predictably, safely, and get the best outcomes for all the stakeholders. The stakeholders that we talk about, so as the projects group, one of our key stakeholders is the operations team in TasPorts. That's who we hand over the infrastructure to, so they can make sure it's operated appropriately. Port users, both current and in the future, and most of our projects are really focused on giving the opportunity to the future exporters and importers for the state. Board and shareholders, obviously we spend a lot of capital to generate returns for the company, and as a corporation, we, like any other commercial company, we need to generate returns out of these projects. And like I said, I think the future export is getting a perspective of what the Tasmanian freight and trade market is going to look like in 10, 15, 30 years, because the infrastructure we're building is taking a 30 to 50 year perspective. It is long-term infrastructure. I think the other thing, and important for this forum, is that we really consciously considered how we can continuously improve the way we deliver projects and bring the industry along on that journey. And I say that with might sound a little bit obnoxious, but it's designed with a sense of humility. And I think as a large infrastructure owner in Tasmania, we're going to invest a lot of money, we've invested a lot of time into our own capability, and we do have a role to be the stewardship of project management in the state and bring the Tasmanian market along on that journey. So we really do have a goal that every contractor, supplier that works with TasPorts is better as a result of working with us. It's absolutely a goal of our team. The 4 key components of our project management approach there, you'll see. So management systems, something we're very passionate about, but getting our management systems, our processes, our technology right, keeping it really simple and making sure we can leverage it. getting the right people in the right roles, and they've got accountability and authority to make the decisions on the spot. Integration, pretty obvious, but integrating the long-term planning with what our operating guys need and how we deliver large construction projects in working ports. Again, another really difficult interface to manage. And probably one that's more closer to my heart is that culture of one team. And for the contractors and suppliers that work with us, we'll put a lot of time into building that one team culture. Really important for successful project delivery. And just build out a little bit more on the approach. We have some project principles there which we've put a fair bit of time into defining, and the important role with principles is there's something you can refer back to at a point of conflict or a point of indecision. So some of the key project principles for us: benefits realisation, that's about delivering a benefit from the project. So it's a fairly robust process to get our projects through a business case approval, but once we've defined what the value is, we actually want to track that we can deliver that back to our stakeholders. And certainly acknowledge that the contractors and suppliers that work with us need to get benefit out of the work that they do with TasPorts as well. Simplification and standardisation, really simple principles that pardon the pun, we want to keep it simple. Delivering projects can be unnecessarily complex, and standardisation is important, I think, particularly for the industry. So when you're interfacing and working with TasPorts, you get the same common approach every time, and we can continuously improve it together. Define and manage scope, straightforward. I really don't want to start any project unless we've defined the scope and we've got a process to manage it. Front-end loading, another really important principle for us, and that's, as most of you would have experienced, the chance to really value add to a project is in the front-end loading phase. Doesn't matter how great you are at execution, if you've missed that value up front, then it's impossible to recover it. And then process discipline, and again, a bit of probably a mantra around how TasPorts works these days, but once we've got a process in place, let's have the operating discipline to stick to it and seek to continuously improve it over time. In terms of categories, we have a pretty diverse range of projects in the pipeline. So we have our major growth projects, which we'll talk through today, the sustaining CapEx and maintenance projects, which we do every year. We have a number of business transformation initiatives underway with both sort of people and technology, which is also very exciting. And again, we apply the exact same approach to those projects. Large maintenance backlog. I think a lot of infrastructure owners in Tasmania have this on their project list or wish list. But we do need to find a way to generate the cash flow to go back and address that maintenance backlog. And then our marine fleet, and represented today by Aaron Doherty from TasPorts Marine, but we run a large TasPorts Marine fleet. Surveys, out of water work on our vessels are significant costs, and we run them like a project, like any other initiative. If I probably add to that, the other thing I'll add is just a defined stage gate process. You'll see there through the model at the bottom there, but we're using our whole business to generate as many opportunities as we can, which is further to the left of that identification phase, and then we refine those opportunities all the way through each of those gates to the point that we're delivering the right projects at the right time. I think if we combine that with an overarching focus on safety, on productivity and the team culture, which I referred about with the one team culture. And I think the way I certainly define the culture that we want is every worker on every one of our projects starting each day with a sense of purpose and ending each day with a sense of accomplishment. And if we have, in the Keylink opportunity, 1,000 workers day in, day out over 5 years achieving that particular aspect of culture, then it's really amazing what a project team can deliver. So that was it for me in the intro. I think if you can take away a clear message today, I think it is that we have developed a really great plan for growth, and there's a number of opportunities sitting in the pipeline at every one of those stages. We've turned that into a clear plan for projects, and we'll talk to specific projects today. We've developed the capability in that owners team to deliver, and we recognise our role in helping that capability grow within the Tasmanian market. And we're ready to go. We're ready to execute. And you'll hear more about the timeline today. So thank you again for your time and commitment to come along, and I'll hand over to Pat to start talking about Project Keylink.